Good morning, class 7. How are you guys doing? I hope you all are doing great, good, and taking care of yourselves at the same time, doing good. And I was just wanting to tell you that be safe during this puja season. Don't go out. You see, no one can stop you. You have to enjoy your pujas. It's one of the biggest religious affairs, the events of your religion. So you have to go ahead and enjoy it. But be safe and have fun and say your prayers also to Goddess Durga so that she helps you out in all and gets everyone safe and the world and everything to become another normal place to start living in. So I just want to tell you that we are back to SSC, the Flowering Regional Cultures, chapter 10. So we are going to start reading this and we'll come to know what was the flowering regional cultures in every region, what was the type of culture, the language and what all happened and what were the regional kingdoms we are going to talk about, what happened during the Mughal period and all. During this period actually, the flowering regional cultures during in the past, what happened. In lesson 9 we read about the Bhakti movement, right? A wave of bhakti overtook the entire country. It enriched the culture of the medieval period. Language, literature, and the fine arts went through major changes. Rulers of big and small kingdoms patronized local languages and cultural practices. Regional traditions were often influenced by ideas from other parts of the country. Simultaneously, other practices, rather older practices, were often modified to take a new form. Now, slowly, it was developing. Everything was coming into a change. Language. Modern Indo-Aryan, mostly North Indian languages started emerging in the 9th and the 10th centuries. History is all about reading and learning and remembering. You have to memorize. You have to understand. If you understand, you will be able to memorize. Odia and Bengali in the east, Marathi in the west. This is of India I am talking about. North India was in the 9th and 10th centuries, the North Indian, the Indo-Aryan language, the mostly North Indian. Odia and Bengali in the east, Marathi in the west, and Hindi and related languages in total central India started coming up around this time. They developed from Prakrit, the simple normal language, used by Mahavira and Buddha to give their sermons about 2500 years ago. People wanted to understand in the normal language. They didn't understand what was happening. So except Sanskrit, they came into this normal local language, Prakrit. In 2014, Odia became the 6th language to get the status of a classical language. Tamil was patronized by the Chola kings. Now find out the other names of the 5 classical languages in your country. Try to find it out. Tamil was patronized by the Chola kings. Administrative records were maintained in Tamil, Telugu and Kannada. The Chera kings encouraged the development of Malayalam, that is more down south, Kerala. Hindi was widely spoken. Braj and Awadhi were the 2 popular dialects. Punjabi and Sindhi also grew importance. The Turks introduced Persian in India. It became the court language, Persian. Administrative records were maintained in Persian. Over time, Persian and Hindi came together to form a new language, Urdu. The word Urdu means camp. This suggests that the language may have originally been spoken in military camps during the reign of later Mughals, and Urdu was widely used to write poems and biographies. It's a very lovely language. If you come to understand it, the words are very meaningful. It's language, we should respect all language. Literature. The most important Sanskrit literary works composed in this period including Kalhana's Rajtarangani of lesson 1, which we had during exams, and Bilhana's Vikramadeva Charitra, an interesting biography of the Chalukyan king Vikramaditya, Katha Sarita Sagara, a collection of stories and legends of Somadeva, and Gita Govinda by Jayadeva are the other noteworthy writings of literature. The earliest writings in Gujarati came from the Jain monks. One such saint was Saliba Drasuri. Gujarati literature was further enriched by the writings of Narsingh Mehta and Premanand Bhatt. The well-known saints Gyaneshwar, Namdev and Tukaram wrote in Marathi. Ramdas and Vaman Pandit also contributed to the Marathi literature. The Shishu Veda, the Rudra Sudhanidhi, The Shiva, the Shishu Veda and the Rudra Sudhanidhi and Sarala Das's Mahabharat are considered some of the earliest available works in Odia. The writings of the Panchasakhas, namely Balram Das, Jagannath Das, Achyutananda Das, Jashobanta Das, and Ananta Das, deeply influenced Odia literature. Panchasakhas, these 5 people. Upendra Bhanja and Dina Krishna Das were notable Odia poets. Prahala Charitra by Hema Saraswati is one of the earliest examples of Assami literature. Madhava Kandali wrote by Saptakanda Ramayana in Assamese. The Ahom rulers introduced a system of keeping records of the events in writing. These writings were called Buranjis. Kritapas Ojha translated the Ramayana into Bengali. Maladhar Basu's Sri Krishna Vijaya is a notable example of Bengali literature. Chaitanya Charitramitra, a biography by Krishna Dasa Kaviraja, details the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Many religious and secular works were translated into Tamil during the reign of the Cholas. Kamban translated the Ramayana into Tamil. Nannayana and Tikana translated the Mahabharata into Telugu. The Vijayanagar rulers encouraged Sanskrit and Telugu. Sayana wrote commentaries of the Vedas. Krishna Deva Raya composed a poem called Amukh Tamalayada in Telugu. He also patronized many learned men in his court. This included the 8 Telugu scholars about whom you have read in lesson 4. Okay. Kannada was enriched by the paintings, by the writings of Pampa, Ponna and Ranna, popularly known as the 3 jewels of Kannada literature, Pampa, Ponna and Ranna. Chandrabai's Prithviraj Raso, you have done it in the exam. Chandrabai's Prithviraj Raso is considered one of the earliest works in Hindi literature. Tulsidas and Surdas were famous Hindi poets. Tulsidas wrote the Ramcharitramanas. The collection of Sudra's poetry is titled Sur Sagar. Prem Vatika by Rakshan and Satsai by Bihari are notable works in Hindi. Malik Mahmud Jayasi Padmavat is an important literary work in Awadhi. Padmavat. Malik Mahmud Jayasi Padmavat. Amir Khusro wrote in Persian, one of the greatest and other poets. The Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads were translated into Persian. Amir Khusro did that. Books in Arabic and Turkish were also translated into Persian. Abul Fazl wrote a biography of Akbar called the Akbarnama. A part of it is called the Ain-e-Akbari. Jahangir's memories are called Tuzuk-e-Jahangiri. Abdul Hamid. Lahori wrote the Padshanama. Many dictionaries in Persian were also compiled in this period. Delhi and Lucknow were the main centers of Urdu poetry and literature. Mirza Ghalib was perhaps the greatest Urdu poet. You must have heard about it. Mirza Ghalib. Paintings. So these are all giving a total conclusion of this, what was happening in the past chapters and all, they're giving it together in a bunch. So you have, this is much more important. Painting was an important art form during the medieval period. Palaces and temples were decorated with murals. Kings and other rich people patronized painters. The Sultanate period. From the Sultanate period onwards, painting depended entirely on royal patronage. The art of painting miniatures began to develop during this period. Kings and nobles employed artists to decorate and illustrate books. The court painters made portraits of kings. Okay, so I'll come back in the next video.